What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. This is the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. I am here with Weezy, AJ, and Tajik will be joining us very, very soon. He's having a thunderstorm, connection issues, but he should be back pretty soon here. So we'll have a group of four here. Luke is on, I believe he's on vacation. I saw him on the beach. He posted a picture of him and a beer on the beach. So that's good for him. But yeah, looking forward to this card, UFC 267. It is stacked from top to bottom. Last week we had 14 fights. And this week, we're adding one more, 15 fights. And as always, we're going to go through, give our favorite fight to target, fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GPP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, and then also our dart throw. We'll talk about who won the contest between me, AJ, Luke, and Weezy last week, and then also give our lineups for this week. So, as always, I am here with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, are you looking forward to this stacked card?
Yeah, how could you not, man? Any UFC fan is going to be looking forward to this card. Stacked from top to bottom, no horse shit fights. And we've had cards with like half horse shit fights on it for like the last 3 weeks. So hard not to be fired up for this one. 2 championship fights, 15 total. Can't wait to chop it up with you guys.
For sure. Then we have AJ as always as well. AJ, what is up? You looking forward to the card?
Yeah, this card's looking stellar from top to bottom. I was wondering, I'm like, is this UFC 267 or UFC Russia? A lot of Russian fighters on this card, which also means a lot of high-level fighters on this card. They have a very dominant style, and usually that creates some DraftKings points. So yeah, looking forward to breaking this card down with you guys from a DraftKings perspective.
For sure. And I told Weezy Sunday, like, this card has like the hardest names to pronounce I've ever seen in my life. Like, some of these are very tricky. So hopefully we can get through these. And then we have the GOAT himself, Tajik, coming in. What is up, Tajik?
Hello, Brady. Hello, everybody in the chat. Great to be back. Very excited for the card and very excited to see Hasbullah joining as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, shout out to Tajik stepping in on about a day's notice for Luke here. And let's hit up the chat before we get started. If you guys can please leave a like on the video. Also subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time to break down this card from a DraftKings perspective. First one in the chat, Palama with the big dono, $50. This tip is a dollar for every V in a fighter's name on Saturday. That's why you're giving us a big 50 there. Appreciate you, Palama. Heard you had another monster week. You had a monster week last week, so Palama is out there killing it. Shout out to Palama for the support, tuning in every single week. Shout out to him. We have Raw Torque in the chat as well. 14 Vs on the card. My goodness. I was told there would be no math. Gary in the chat as well. Gary had a big win as well. I believe he finished like 3rd place on DraftKings. So shout out to Gary. Saw that screenshot. So yeah, Raw as well. So yeah, I think we should get started here. As always, we're going to kick it off with the fight to target. And let's start with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is your fight to target for UFC 267?
I'm going with the main event, the championship fight, Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira. We've got the second best fight doesn't go to decision prop on the slate for this fight. It's a 5-round fight. Love betting those 5-round fights. Love having those in DraftKings. More times to score, more rounds to score, an additional 10 minutes in the fight if it goes to decision. You know, when you're talking about fighters that are scoring around 3 DraftKings points per minute, you get an extra 10 minutes, you know, it's an extra 30 points. It's a big deal, especially when they are going to decision. But this fight has the second best fight doesn't go. So it looks like whoever wins this fight is probably going to be optimal. Both of these guys do grapple. It really does promise to be a high-scoring fight, so I'm going to be really heavily weighted on that one.
Sounds good. AJ, how about you? What is your fight to target for this week?
I'm going to go to Andre Petrovsky and Huey Zhang, 8,600 and 7,600 respectively. A strategy that I like to implore GPPs on these pay-per-view events is to attack some of these prelim fights. You know, they're just not as intriguing to target for the average player. People want to target the title fights, the fights on the main card, which I totally understand, and I'll target them too. But we tend to see these earlier prelim fights go under own, and not only that, I think it's a good fight to target because of the stylistic considerations. You know, Petrovsky, we know his game. He's a wrestler, grappler, looks to get the fight to the ground. Most of his wins are by early finish, and as a result, that equates to a big DK score. You know, Huey Zhang has taken some time away, and there's always reason to believe that he's improved. However, the last time we saw somebody wrestle against him, he looked awful there against Asker, got taken down several times easily, and then ended up getting choked out. So I think Petrovsky has a lot of grappling upside, but if he doesn't get Zhang out of there, I think there's a legitimate chance that Zhang takes over late. He's got a high pace, a good pressure game. I think he's the better striker as well. So there's potential for Zhang to win by knockout on the feet or due to a cardio failure from Petrovsky. So I see this fight as early versus late. I know Petrovsky's coming off of the 3rd round stoppage, but he still got tired there. don't know that that's sustainable. And yeah, I'm all over this fight from a GPP standpoint.
Nice, AJ. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit different with this, but I'm going right there with you. I think Petrosky, who is something to definitely target. Yeah, like you said, I think this is going to be a lot lower owned than it really should be. Both guys actually have 100% finish rates, but neither guy's ever won a decision. So that's something interesting to note. And like you said, Petrosky, very solid wrestler, very solid grappler. We have seen Zhang struggle with that game plan in the past. Mind you, though, it was against the heavyweight. It was like 4 years ago, but still. And then, like you said, like his striking's not the best. He has slowed down in the past. Petrosky has been finished several times when the fight does get extended. So yeah, I don't mind this fight at all. I think Petrosky has a serious grappling upside, takedown upside, control time upside, and possibly a submission upside. And then also Zhang, who I think that if Petrosky coming in on short notice does gas out, does get tired, if he can extend this fight, I can very well see a Zhang who knockout later in the fight goes. So, and on top of that, I think it's going to be lower owned than it should be. So yeah, I do like that as well. Tajik, what fight are you looking at to target this week?
Targeting wise, I'm actually looking into Petr Yan versus Cory Sandhagen. I think it's a very closely contested matchup. Despite the odds being so far out, I don't think they accurately reflect the matchup. I think it will be very close, and it's a championship matchup. It's a 5-rounder. That's one reason to pick it. Another one is that both fighters have actually have tremendous striking output, right? And so this fight we're likely going to see around 4 and 5. And if we see a lot of striking exchanges, even in a loss, let's say, I think Sandhagen can score a decent amount of points. So I think for cash purposes, like he's a decent pick, whether he wins or loses. And Petr is obviously a machine. Both have scored high in the past, so I think the probability of high scoring decision or a late finish for either of for both of those fighters is quite high, and so I think this fight is the one that should be covered on both sides, regardless of who your pick is.
I like, yeah, especially those price tags as well. King Rob checking in. What's up, boys? Finally a pay-per-view and a very good one as well. We got Jeremiah with the dono. Jeremiah saying, you boys have won me some money recently. Big fan. Hey, big fan of you, Jeremiah. Appreciate you for hanging out. Can't see Sandhagen being durable enough to handle Yan. And then also we do see that Palama says a cash stack, which I could see it. I mean, I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. I think it probably does go 5 rounds. I think it scores very high on each side. David saying, it just got out of class. What did I miss? Nothing really. We just went over our fight to target, and now we're going to go into our fight to fade. And let's start with AJ. AJ, what is your fight to fade for UFC 267?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go over to the fight between Amanda Ribas and Virna Jandiroba. And it kind of pains me to say it because I think this is a super high-level fight between two underrated fighters. I know that people have been very high on Ribas in the past, but coming off of a knockout loss, I'm not so sure. But the way they match up stylistically, I think that there's a chance that they just nullify each other to a great degree. They're both excellent judo practitioners. They're both excellent Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners. So while there's potential that they take down and control one another, I just don't see a domination one way or another. I think that the winner of this fight will be determined on the feet, where I think it's fair to favor really either side. I prefer Ribas personally. I know that Jandiroba, there's a lot of credence to her improvements, and maybe Ribas is a little hesitant coming off of a knockout loss. But even if hypothetically Ribas goes out there and just lands a bunch of volume, it's still just not enough at 8,200. In this new DraftKings scoring system, we want the wrestlers, we want the fighters with finishing potential. In the case of Tajik, he mentioned like 5-round fights, right? So in Weezy as well. So it's just one that's not all too interesting to me from a fantasy perspective, despite me wanting to see it from a fan perspective.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Yeah, kind of that mid range, like the mid, like 7,900 to 8,300 is kind of iffy for me. It's going to be like a stars and scrubs week for me personally. Tajik, what are you looking at for a fight to fade this week?
I think I'm gonna go with Magomed Mustafayev versus Damir Ismagulov, just because I believe that it's gonna be a striking affair, a low scoring at that. And although Magomed has a wrestling upside, I don't think he has an ability to control Damir for a prolonged period, and so I expect this fight to be a low scoring. A striking matchup, and I don't know who takes it. So far, it's pretty close, but the fight to fate is obviously going to be that one, just because I don't see a winner of this bout scoring high.
Sounds good. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have 3 different ones here. For me, I'm gonna go with I don't feel great about this. There's like not a fight that I'm going to like outright fade this week, which is crazy because it's 15 fights. But a fight that I don't see myself being too high on is going to be Tybura Tukhugov going against Ricardo Ramos. Tukhugov typically does not score well. I know he had that really good scoring scoring fight against Aguilar when he scored 121, but typically, in his wins, he's scoring, 45, scoring 61, stuff like that, 31 in a loss, had a draw scoring 55. I think this does primarily play on the feet. I feel like if there is takedowns, it does come from the Tukhugov side, actually. But yeah, 8,300. I don't see a finish on either side. I'm going to be very lightly exposed on this one. Weezy, what are you looking at for a fight to fade?
Yeah, I'm going with Tajik here on the Ismagulov-Mustafayev fight. It's the second worst fight, doesn't go to decision prop on the slate, most likely to go to the distance. Even though both of these guys have grappled in the past, I think they're both most comfortable striking, and I think that the stylistic matchup kind of plays out on the feet here for this particular fight. They're both excellent kickboxers, and in particular, Ismagulov is really good defensively. He only allows 1.08 Draftkings points a minute. So even if you lose to Ismagulov by decision, on average, you're going to score about 15 to 16 points. It's not nearly good enough. So yeah, I think that that fight is going to be one. Ismagulov is too expensive to roster at his price, and Mustafayev just doesn't have enough upside at his price. Maybe for a punt, but yeah, that's going to be the one that I'm going to be avoiding.
Yeah, like outside of a finish, I don't really see Mustafayev scoring a ton. But let's move on to the next thing. We have fighter to fade, and curious to your guys' thoughts on this one. So we'll start with AJ. AJ, what is your fighter to fade this week?
Yeah, it's got to be Tybura Tukhugov for me at 8,300. In theory, he's got wrestling upside, but he just doesn't land that many takedowns. Like, he had that good performance there against Murphy. We'll get to him a little bit later. But it just usually it's like 1 to 3 takedowns, and he just doesn't do a whole lot from top position. He's not a dangerous submission grappler. It's just mainly control. And on the feet, like you mentioned, the Aguilar fight, he knocked him out. He could do that to Ramos, I guess, but it just doesn't seem that likely to me. Ramos likes to keep his range. He's a little bit longer than Tukhugov. And Tukhugov just doesn't throw that many strikes per minute. He's rather passive in striking exchanges. He's coming off a performance where he landed 35 significant strikes in 15 minutes, a fight largely contested on the feet. Like, he's just very, very knockout or bust to me. And there's a chance that he doesn't even want to take Ramos down because he's shown that usual MO of standing for a little bit too long. So it's going to be Tybura Tukhugov for me at 83. I just think that his path to putting up a big score is very, very limited.
Sounds good. I'm with you there. Weezy, what are you looking at for your fighter to fade?
For me, it's going to be Roman Kopylov this week. Very low volume in his first fight. He doesn't wrestle at all. And he's likely to spend the majority of the fight being blanketed by Duraev. I hate this matchup for him. This is one fight that I do love. The fight doesn't go to decision because Kopylov is a knockout artist, and Duraev, all of his professional losses are by knockout. In addition to that, Kopylov is not much of a wrestler at all, has virtually no ground game. We know how Duraev fights. He goes out, he shoots for takedowns, he works his grappling. So yeah, it looks like a terrible, terrible matchup for Roman, but he is young. He is getting better. So, he might have made some huge strides since we've last seen him, but I just think he's too one-dimensional here. And it seems like he's kind of like a tailor-made matchup for Duraev to get that first UFC win. So I am not going to be rostering Roman Kopylov.
Sounds good. And then Tajik, what is your fighter to fade this week?
My fighter to fade is going to be Leron Murphy, and it's not because I think it's not because I have a slight lean towards Amirkhani. I think Amirkhani can get a closely contested decision here, but because of the pressure that Amirkhani is going to put early on Leron, and how timid Leron just standing in the early rounds. I think Amirkhani is going to be able to take him down early, not maybe to control him as much as he wants to, but imagine, round one, second half, first half of the second round, kind of in the grappling exchanges, and the control time for Amirkhani, and then Leron basically losing in output, right? Because Makwan has this ability to suppress to suppress the volume in the opposition. And Murphy is in himself is not a volume machine, whether striking or wrestling wise. So with Lerone being this much of a favorite, it's picking him up, to win. Okay, I don't blame you. I think it's going to be close still, but to fade him in a DK, I think is pretty viable.
Yep, I'm going to be right there with you, Tajik. Murphy's going to be my fade as well. The reason being, for all the things you mentioned as well, I actually think there's a good chance that he even loses the first round. But, you have Islam Makhachev up there. You have Khamzat Chimaev. You have Tagir Ulanbekov. You have Duraev as well. You have Jan Blachowicz. You have Volkov. You have Petr Yan. I'd rather play all those instead of Lerone Murphy, who, I think he wins. I think he could potentially get even a late finish, but I just rather play the other guys that have, wrestling upside, grappling upside, where I'd be shocked if Murphy came out here and started, getting takedowns and all that. I think he's his best back to victory is keeping on the feet and outstriking Americani. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Tajik. But let us move on to the next thing. We have our favorite dog, and let's start with AJ. AJ, who's your favorite dog this week?
It's got to be Cory Sandhagen at 7,400 for me. I have unintentionally become the Colby Covington of MMA Twitter this week with some of the stats that I pointed out for some previous Jan fights. I mean, look, Jan's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but to look at this matchup and say that Cory Sandhagen has no chance, I think is completely absurd. He's a very good distance striker. He's going to have the length advantage here. And then he has great output, and I think he's got a footwork advantage here. And one thing about Jan that I noticed is, despite me thinking he's very well-rounded, he does a lot of covering up, and he will take a lot of distance strikes. I mean, he blocks a lot of punches with his arms, but those still count for Draftkings. Like, they will count those as significant strikes. And we know that Sandhagen is very tough. He won 3 rounds with John Hands of Stone Lineker. He's never been knocked out in his career. So I think we see a fight that extends here and that could be easily contested on the feet for all 25 minutes. I mean, look, Jan's a better wrestler, but Sandhagen has improved his takedown defense tremendously through the years. And even when he's getting taken down, he's grabbing, rolling out. He's threatening with submissions, working back to his feet. He will not settle down there. And Jan's primary game plan is to strike. So even if he wants to wrestle, I just think Sandhagen will work back up. So I think Sandhagen's being very underrated in this spot. Again, he's short notice. I get it. He lost to Dillashaw, debatably. But I still like the value on Sandhagen. He's a live underdog, in my opinion. He's in the main event. And I think there's a chance that it just goes 5 rounds. And I don't mind it even in cash. So I'm going to go with Sandhagen.
Yeah, like you said, he's a really solid cash play as well. I have him in there for sure. Dream Team in the chat. What's up, prediction Dream Team? What is up, Dream Team yourself? We have Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast in the chat as well. Murphy sub, you heard it here first. Clint, I'll tell you what, if Lerone Murphy subs Americani, I will PayPal you $100. So Luke said the same thing. So if he does that, you'll get $200. So shout out to Clint. We'll see what happens there. Weezy, what are you looking at for your favorite underdog?
Come on, man. It's got to be Virna Jandiroba, doesn't it? Really? I mean, seriously, 8,000. My favorite female fighter, Virna. I'm just a fanboy. High grappling upside. Ribas is not finishing her inside the distance. So even if Virna loses, it goes the full 15. I flat out think she wins this fight. I kind of want to be in the mid-range, but I just think that really the simp bettors, they're going to be crying in their apple teenies this weekend when Virna goes in and murders this woman. It's not a good matchup for Amanda Ribas. I see the money coming in on Ribas. I might be adding to my bet, even though it's already a max bet, if this gets any wider. I just see Virna having the advantage on the ground. She's more durable. She hits harder. She's more experienced. And she's fought the better brand of competition. So I'm going with Virna Jandiroba here. I suggest all you guys roll with me.
Did you say apple martinis?
Yeah, apple teenies, because like the people that are betting on Amanda Ribas because they think that she's sexy, they're not going to have any women with them. And they're going to be sitting there by themselves, sipping on their apple teeny, waiting for Amanda Ribas to bring home Virna's arm. And it's just not going to happen, dude. It's not going to happen. Put down your apple teenies, get a real beer in front of you, and act like a man for once in your life. Stop fucking simp betting. It's going to be Virna, guys.
Tajik, favorite underdog?
I'm going to need to take a pause after such a great speech. I mean, but let's move forward. I'm going to take, people's champion. I'm going to take somebody who has been an underdog his entire career, and I think, in my opinion, he is a future rising champion, and that's going to be Yao Zhonghu. I think he has definitely has a potential to put up a good fight, put up a competitive fight versus Petrovsky. Petrovsky has a great, grappling upside. But I actually like, Yao Zong Hu's underhooks. The way he clinches. And the way he fights hands as well. I think he's kind of like his takedown defense is pretty serviceable. His Greco-Roman background, I said that to my subscribers, is a myth. I mean, it doesn't exist. I mean, it's just, I don't know where it come from. But in general, I think he's going to be able to put up a great fight. And I feel like it's going to be something crazy for Yao Zong Hu, where, Petrovsky is not going to give any kind of respect to Hu's submission game. And it's going to be some kind of like a crazy standing a guillotine choke. So that's kind of my official pick, and I like Yao Zong Hu as an underdog here against Petrovsky to win by a standing guillotine choke.
Yazong by sub.
Yeah,
I like it, man. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns about Hugh. We've not seen him in 3 years. He's training at a good camp, and I'm not fully sold on Petrovsky. So yeah, I like that. For me, I'm gonna go kind of the safe route. I'm gonna go with Cory Sandhagen as well. I mean, he's sitting at 7,400. I do think the fight's going to play out a lot closer than that is lined, and Sandhagen just puts up a ton of output, 6.32 significant strikes per minute. I'm not completely sold on his takedown defense. I think that Petr Yan's going to be able to get takedowns here, but like AJ said, his get-up game is very, very good. I think it is going to go 5 rounds, and even in a loss, like Sandhagen's going to score very, very well. So yeah, I do like Sandhagen, 7,400, but I think we all talked about some very good underdogs there. So let's move on. Our favorite GPP play. When we're talking GPP, we're talking some high upside and some high ceiling. And I'll start this one out. For me, it's going to be Khamzat Chimaev, 9,500. I mean, it's just crazy to see what he's done to his opponents thus far. And I know it's, guys like John Phillips, who has a 7% takedown defense. Guys like Rhys McKee, who's no longer in the UFC, Gerald Mearshart. But still, in those 3 fights, his opponents combined for 1 significant strike. And that's just crazy to think about. I mean, less than 10 minutes of fight time, but still, like, that's very impressive. This is going to be the toughest test of his career. But, if he does win, I see him getting a ton of takedowns. The Leech does not have great takedown defense, 59%. Chimaev, I don't believe he's ever won a fight over the 1.5 round mark. I think all of his finishes are either in the first round or early second. So I am curious to see what happens if it does get extended. But, he has takedown upside, control time upside, lots of strikes. And I think he does finish the Leech at some point in this fight. So for me, my favorite GPP play is going to be Khamzat Chimaev. Weezy, what is your favorite GPP play?
I'm going to go with Duraev, the second best inside the distance prop on the slate, and he's got the 5th highest salary. So there's definitely some finishing upside for this guy. There's some a little bit of a price discount for this guy, and I also think it's just a perfectly tailor-made matchup here for Duraev to get the win. You want to, if you're looking to get Duraev a win, you want to get him a guy that doesn't wrestle at all and has no ground game, and Kopylov fits that bill absolutely perfectly. And I want to reiterate that I do love the fight doesn't go to decision for this one as well, because I do think that there is a path for Kopylov to win by knockout here. Should Duraev gas out, or should he be unable to get the takedowns? But I feel very confident that Duraev's going to get this done inside the distance, and with the second best inside the distance prop and the 5th highest salary, you get some value there. So that's going to be my pick.
Yep, I'm with you there. I think it's a very good violent spot as well. AJ, what is your favorite GPP play for this week?
I'm going to go with Elizu Zaleski dos Santos at 8,500. One angle that I like to exploit in DraftKings is to look at the fight logs and kind of, think that a lot of people gauge the ownership based, or they want to play the fighter based on like their historic representation of a win, right? When you look at dos Santos, he actually only has 2 wins that you could see that scored 100 or more points. However, he's facing a very questionable opponent here, and he's got a plus 125 inside distance line. And unlike a lot of the previous matchups dos Santos was in, I think he's live here to land takedowns. He's never been a great wrestler, but the opponent that he's facing just almost welcomes a ground game here, makes so many mistakes. Dos Santos is a much more polished fighter everywhere the fight goes. I think he could win by standing knockout. It kind of reminds me of the Jim Miller fight we saw a few weeks ago with Eric Gonzalez. Like, if there's enough left in the tank here, if he hasn't regressed so far, then he should just go out here and just, put on a clinic, to be honest with you, on the mat or on the feet. So I like dos Santos as a low-owned play. I think he's got big upside. He's reasonably cheap, and I think he'll be low-owned.
Yep, I agree. I do like him as well. And yeah, it's not like he's like 40. He's 34, so he is, getting up there, but I still think he should get this done for sure. Tajik, what are you looking at for your favorite GBP play?
I think for GPP, probably Petr Yan is going to be a viable play, only because he has the upside. I think he can finish Cory, and at the same time, don't get me wrong, I will be hedging this fight. I think Cory has a chance here as well, and at 7,400, he's a gift, right? But in that gift, I see as Luke like to say, quasi contrarian take, because I feel like Petr is going to be a little bit underappreciated in light of the Cory's 7,400 price tag. So when you're looking at that, you have to think in those contrarian terms. And Petr, and I think Petr will be slightly under-owned, especially at the prices that again I said like is given to Cory, and I would pick him as the GPP play. So I think he's at his price and at the ownership projections, he's pretty viable play, GPP play.
I like it. I actually like all four of the ones we gave out: Chimaev, Duraev, Dos Santos, and then Jan there. So those are all pretty good ones there. But let's move on to our favorite cash play. Where we're talking cash, we're talking a nice floor, someone who's safe. And I'm gonna agree with Tajik. I think I think Petr Yan's a very good cash play as well. 8,800. I do see this going the distance. I see it being competitive, but I also see Petr Yan mixing in a ton of takedowns. Sandhagen has a very good get-up game that's only going to lead to more takedowns. And I also think that Yan throws a ton of volume in his own right, nearly 6 significant strikes landed per minute, an extra 2 rounds to work with, and he's only 8,800. So I really do like him for cash. I like this fight in general for cash. And somebody said it earlier in the video. I wouldn't mind stacking this in cash as well. So yeah, I do like Petr Yan. He's going to be my cash play for the week. AJ, what is your favorite cash play?
Yeah, I suppose it's slightly contrarian. I'm going to go over to Magomed Ankalaev at 9,100. I know that there's some risk here with a light heavyweight fight. However, when I look at the matchup, I think he's much better than Oezdemir everywhere. I think he's a better technical striker. I think he's a better wrestler. And I think he's a better grappler. And I think he's got more momentum on his side. I don't think momentum is end all be all, but I do have some questions on the Oezdemir side, getting knocked out for the first time, standing knockout, that is. I know he's finished by Cormier. But going off of that point, every time we've seen Oezdemir like shoulders on the mat, like grounded, he's looked pretty bad. He got choked out by Anthony Smith. He got finished by Cormier. I know Cormier is a stud, but just seeing how easily Cormier took him down, grabbed a single leg, no resistance whatsoever. Ankalaev, we know, is just such a stud. Maybe Oezdemir knocks him out. There's a reason to take some shots on Oezdemir and GPPs, because we have seen Ankalaev, we have seen him take some big shots in the past. So we know that Oezdemir could crack, but I think that Ankalaev here has the finishing upside, has the grappling upside to really dominate wherever this fight goes. So I'm going to go with Ankalaev at 91.
Nice. Tajik, what are you looking at for your cash play?
A cash play probably going to be Jan Blachowicz. I think he's a safe play here. I think even in the loss he can do quite okay. I mean, I tend to agree with the odds here, and I think he priced pretty well as well for a cash play. So for him, I'm going to pick him as a safer play. I think cash plays wise, I think he's pretty viable over Glover Teixeira. And again, I think the slight distraction here is Glover Teixeira's price. And so I think from the cash perspective, as Jan is pretty reliable, even if we assume that he loses the fight. I think he can do pretty well.
Sounds good. I like it. And then Weezy, what is your favorite cash play?
Sorry, it's going to be Błachowicz as well. Third best inside the distance line on the slate, but only the 6th highest salary, so we get some value there. In addition to that, it's a 5-round fight, so it's a great high upside play. Błachowicz has been a finisher. There should be a good amount of grappling in this fight as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a high scoring fight. I think Błachowicz is fairly high volume for the 205-pound division. It's most likely to finish inside the distance, and there's a little bit of value there. So yeah, gotta love that for a good cash play.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So we are going to move on to our value plays. Before we do so, everybody in the chat, if you all can hit the like, if you're watching in the future, hit the like as well. Let's get those likes up. Do appreciate all the likes and all the support you guys bring week in and week out. So favorite value play. Let's start with AJ. What are you looking at for some value here?
Yeah, I'm going to go on over to Glover Teixeira, actually. I think that for 7,200, he's nicely priced. And the reason why I think he's a value play is I know that if Glover wins this fight, I feel very confident in his chances of putting up a big score. 5 rounds, his way of winning this fight is to just take Jan down and control him. Jan is a really good submission grappler, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but just the way Glover is on the ground, he's just so aggressive. Like he just doesn't mind beating guys to a pulp, advancing into dominant position, and even just showing relentless toughness. Going for the takedown after rocked. Like this guy will fight for every ounce of your money in there. So Glover Teixeira, 7,200, 5-round main event. His path to victory is wrestling and grappling. Sign me up to get some questions answered on the Jan takedown defense.
Yep, I'm going to agree. That is mine as well. I thought you broke it down perfectly. He has that wrestling upside. He's 7,200. He's very cheap. Yes, he has a bad chin, but he has a big heart, and he can be knocked down and fight through it. And then, a win for Teixeira scores very, very well. At 7,200, if he does win, it's hard to see him not scoring well. He's a finisher. We have seen Błachowicz get finished in the past. I am picking Błachowicz, but it's really hard to ignore the value there at 7,200, especially in a 5-round fight. So I'm with you there. I think Glover Teixeira is a solid value play. Weezy, what is your favorite value play for this week?
Well, we got Palama Lou Diamond Phillips in the chat saying if he doesn't hear the name Mr. Finland soon, he's going to drink heavily tonight. I don't want him drinking that heavily. I would prefer that he just had a drink or two, drank responsibly. I do like Mr. Finland. Best front chokes in the division. So, and the dog is barking back there, and we know what Mr. Finland is this weekend. So let's hope that Mr. Finland gets a little bit of love here, that he does something. But my value play is going to be Alan Nascimento. Super cheap, 6,800, you guys. And he's well-rounded. He's a shoot box trained fighter. He's got good hands. He wrestles quite a bit. I don't think he wins, but he could be a fantastic punt at 6,800. Ulanbekov, not much of a finisher in his own right. So even if Nascimento does lose, we could see him going the full 3 rounds and scoring a decent amount of points. He scored 3.17 Draftkings points a minute in his Contender Series fight against Paiva. It was a very close fight. And if he can hang with Paiva for 15 minutes, he could probably hang with Ulanbekov for 15 minutes and make it close. And man, if he winds up pulling it out at 6,800, if you get a winner on your roster, it sets you up to really, get up into that top 2% of the tournament. So yeah, I like the value play for Nascimento here.
For sure. And then Tajik, what is your favorite value play?
I actually, not to go off of the chat's request, but I like Makwan Amirkhani actually. He started working heavily on his conditioning, I think, just prior to his last fight. I think a lot of his preparation in the previous fights has been around kind of weightlifting, power, and I think less so on the conditioning and just stamina as well. And I think that should be factored in. So I think his Kirk fight is such a it's such an unfortunate event, because when he lost that fight, but I thought he won that fight. So to me, I'm considering Leron lost to De Andrade and to Zubaira Tukhugov. I think he's overrated, to be honest with you, and he should be 1 and 2 in the UFC. And I think Amirkhani should be slightly bit more favorite, just because of his competition as well. The strength of competition of his has been pretty tremendous. I mean, he fought a good level of opposition, and I'm gonna take Amirkhani. I think in a win, it's gonna be something like a split decision. I mean, his fights are always pretty close, so I'm gonna take Makwan Amirkhani as my favorite dog play this week.
I like it. Yeah, I'll definitely have some Amirkhani as well. But yeah, let's move on to the next section here. We do have our dart throw, and yeah, curious to hear you guys' takes on these ones. So let's start with Weezy. Weezy, what is your dart throw for this week?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of just echo what AJ said earlier about Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos potentially being low owned. For some reason, this fight was like the last fight that was added to the card. There's really no props even out on this fight yet. Brady and I got in on the under 2.5. Brady got it at 120, minus 120. He told me he got it at minus 120. I went to go hit it at minus 120. It went to minus 130. When I went to go hit it at minus 130, it went to minus 140. When I went to go hit it at minus 140, I got it. So I got it at minus 140, but I don't think that this fight is going to decision. Saint Denis, I believe, has only been out of the second round once in his career. All of his fights have ended inside the distance, and this is an absolutely massive step up in competition for him. I think he's a little too sloppy on the ground, leaves a little too much room to be reversed, to be caught in his own submission attempts. I think he's going to get a veteran lesson here from Zaleski dos Santos, and that's going to be, and I still think it's going to be a low-owned option up there at 8,500. So, yeah, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of this mid-range in general is going to be like very low-owned because we have the title fights up top. We have guys like Chimaev up top, guys like that. So, yeah, I definitely do like that as well. AJ, what is your low-owned dart throw for this week?
Yeah, ask and you shall receive. I'm going to go with Mach 1 Americani. Palamas were crossed in the chat at 6,900. And yeah, I definitely echo a lot of the same points you guys said. There's a chance that he's being just underrated coming off of, losing 3 of 4. And Murphy has won his last 2 fights. And he was a big underdog in that debut. He fought very well. He got a draw there, although I do agree with Tajik. I do think that Tugov deserved to win that fight. And we have seen a hole in his game. Look, I think Murphy could scramble well out of back mount. But when you actually put him like shoulders to the mat, kind of reminds me of like Volkov in a way, you could control him in the middle of the octagon. And I would just like to get those questions answered. I know that there's a lot of concerns about Americani. It's encouraging to hear that his conditioning has been worked on. But still, I think he's likely to have some early success. As you said, Brady, get some takedowns, and he's got a big submission grappling advantage. So if I'm going to be light on Murphy, I might as well just double down and just take some of his opponent who I think is being undervalued here. So I'm going to go with Mach 1 Americani.
Nice. Yeah, I like both of your guys so far. For me, I'm going to go with Zhang Hu, and it was a shame, man. I was so excited to see Zhang Hu return against Alan Amadovsky. I had a bet on him. I felt very dirty doing it, but was feeling pretty good about it. I mean, this is a guy that the last time he fought, he was 23 years old. He's now 26, training at Tiger Muay Thai. He's fought at heavyweight. He looked bad there, but again, that was heavyweight. I believe it was on short notice as well. And then he goes to light heavyweight. This is at middleweight. He's looking good. He's looking really good. And I'm not completely sold on Andre Petrovsky. His striking's not there. The wrestling's solid. The grappling's definitely really solid. It's just if he's not able to get Zhang Hu out of there, we have seen Petrovsky, gas out in the past and get finished before in the past for sure. So, I wouldn't shock me if we saw a new and improved version of Zhang Hu. And at 7,600, I think he's going to be extremely low owned. I think people are counting this guy out. Petrovsky has some hype on him. Ultimate Fighter guy, had a submission win in his UFC debut, but I wasn't really impressed with his UFC debut. He lost the second round to Michael Gilmore. Like, that's not good. Michael Gilmore is not a great fighter, and maybe Zhang Hu isn't as well, but 3 years to improve. Great camp. Taking a shot on Hu here for my dart throw. Tajik, what are you looking at for a dart throw?
I think, for me, it has to be somebody that is cheap, underlooked, and potentially has a chance to win this one. And I think this is going to be Volkan Oezdemir for me. At 7,100, I think he's pretty interesting option. He's definitely, I think he would be considered a dart throw. But just in general, I'm trying to think what Magomed has to offer to him, right? I think in terms of the takedown, I don't think he can take him down, maybe just once, but he's not going to be able to control him. Oezdemir has 85% takedown defense, and standing wise, I mean, the guy has fought, top, cream of the crop of the UFC. He fought everybody. Yes, he did have losses, I understand, but at the same time, I think you cannot deny the strength of the competition that he had, and just in general, I feel like he can, if he puts up the little bit of the pace, puts the pressure on Magomed, I think Magomed can be kind of can give it away, because nobody has pressured him that much, just in general, and he's been very dominant, pushing the pace himself. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick him up as my dart throw. I think it's viable that he may take a closely contested decision here, and at 7,100 he's a dart throw for me.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So anybody in the chat, if you guys have any questions, you can type them out now. We'll get to those in a second. So just type out your questions there. We'll get to them. But first, we're going to see who won the contest last week. And yeah, I mean, in last place was me with Ricci. I took a shot on Worthy, got Starch, Negamarianu, Dawson, De Silva, and Costa, scoring 333.78. As far as third place is AJ with De Silva, Vittori, Grant, Ricci, Herbert Rodriguez, scoring 485.49. And second place is Luke with Dawson, Vittori, Ricci, Rose Clark, Costa, Caceres, scoring 568. And then in first place with, I think, probably the best lineup we've had yet on a show, Weezy with Ricci, Herbert, Molina, Vittori, Rodriguez, Caceres, scoring 659.75. And Weezy, you actually used that lineup, and he had a very good night. So kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so I put that lineup in the haymaker and in the hook. It took fourth in the haymaker. It took third in the hook. So I was tied with a bunch of other people with that lineup, but I believe $11 turned into over 650 with that one lineup. So for all you guys out there who are watching this show and you're new to DraftKings MMA, when we give you guys lineups at the end of the day, just take one of each one from all of us. You can put in all four of those lineups, put in a couple other lineups yourself. We're giving you some really good winners here sometimes. I mean, whether it's me or Brady or Tajik or Luke or AJ, every week one of us is putting up a huge score here. So yeah, don't be afraid to tail us. We do a lot of research for this show. We do a lot of research to do the content that we do. So, don't be afraid to tail us. We put a lot of work into this stuff. So, but it was a really big week for me. It's been a while since I've had that much luck, getting 6 winners and putting them all on the same lineup is really difficult to do. The amount of combinations that we can put together with these lineups are crazy. So we got to take the good weeks with the bad weeks, but I'm really happy to have that good one. I hope some of you guys tailed us on that one and we made some money.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Congrats. Great lineup, especially the Caceres call. I believe Luke had Caceres as well. So yeah, great calls by both of you guys, scoring about 91 points for him. But let's go to this week, though. Let's give our lineups for this week. I'll get it from Luke sometime this week, hopefully. I'll start it out, though. So up top, I'm looking at Duraev. I'm looking at Petr Yan. Give me Dos Santos. Give me Ismagulov. Give me Yazong Hu. And give me Glover Teixeira as a punt. Weezy, what is your lineup for this week?
Okay, up top, I'm going with Chimaev, 9,500. Duraev is either 9,300 or 9,200, I forget. Błachowicz, 9,000. Then Virna Jandiroba, 8,000. Sandhagen, 7,400. Nascimento, 6,800.
Sounds good. And AJ, what is your lineup for this week?
Going to go with Duraev at 92, Ankalaev at 91, Petrovsky 86, Zaleski Dos Santos at 85, Sandhagen at 74, and Americani at 69.
Sounds good. Tajik, do you have a lineup? If so, that's fine. Let us know. If not, that's fine as well.
Okay, well, let me try. I'm not that good at DraftKings, but
you're the goat. You're the goat. Come on.
I joke. So here we go. Yeah, let's go. Let's go stars and scraps. So let's go. Yao Zong Hu, Petr Yan, Volkov, Tukhugov, Chimaev, and Makwan Americani, and that will cost you 50,000. But in the entire chat, don't do it, because if we win, we all win. We're gonna split it like 300 ways, and nobody gonna get everything. At least like some of you be like, I don't know, play it somewhere, some other competition. Like, don't go into the main GPP putting this lineup. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you, the GOAT. So we'll answer some questions you guys have here, and then we'll give our picks and get out of here. So Grateful Dude saying, is fighting on Fight Island a factor you figure in? AJ, when you're looking at the fights, are you factoring it in at all?
I mean, not a lot. I think the one thing to note is just the level of commute for some fighters. If they're already overseas, they get that nice convenience of not having to travel that far. Whereas you get some U.S.-based fighters, they got to travel a longer extent. But to me, though, I don't really factor it in just because I'm not with those fighters. I don't know how they're feeling in preparation for the fight. So I'm more so just looking at the style matchup and looking at all the number crunching and stuff like that and prioritizing that above all else.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Brady,
How about-
can I also answer that like real quick?
go ahead.
Yeah, because like for some fighters it is the case, for some it's not. Like if you're taking guys like let's say Tuhugov, Khamzatov, Makhachev, they all come in there to UAE very, very early. They get their camps done in there, they get acclimated there, and they're just in a very tip-top shape coming into these fights, right? And so somebody like Cory, Sandhagen, you know, like and the opponents of those fighters of the Khabib's protege are Dan Hooker are generally in terms of adaptation are not going to have an edge because they're not going to be acclimated by the time that they arrive. And so, you know, is it going to be a key factor? No. But you should be factoring in, you know, and so the Vegas puts their odds. I think that's one of the reasons why you see the odds, not the main one, but one of the reasons why the odds are just so far off.
Yeah, for sure. Good points there. Weezy, Headley one bringing up the point that Jandiroba by sub is plus 1,200 on FanDuel. Any thoughts on that? Any value on that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely value at plus 1,200. You're talking about something like a 7 or an 8% implied probability, and Virna Jandiroba has finished over 70% of her professional wins by submission. She was undefeated coming into the UFC. She's one of the highest level female Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champions in the world. So she can absolutely win by submission here. She's pulled guard against Mackenzie Dern. She's pulled guard against other fighters. She can get submissions from the top. She can get submissions from the bottom. She is extremely tough. And I've said it about 4 times already this week. I'm going to say it again. In that Murata fight, she not only broke Murata's arm, but she broke her orbital, both in the first round. This is a mean woman who hits hard, and she's very durable. She's coming for Amanda Ribas's ass. Plus 1,200. That has got the Uncle Weezy seal of approval stamped right on it.
I like it. Yeah, I cannot wait for that fight. We'll stick with you, Weezy. Robert Cherry saying, I need 1 3-leg dog parlay to max bet. Goodness.
Okay, so we don't max bet 3-leg dog parlays. What we call those are like the party at Weezy's parlays. We put a small amount on them. We get 3 big plus money odds, and we try to turn like $2 into $7,000. That way, if you lose, you can just laugh at it. I like Virna as a dog this week, but frankly, there's not a lot of other plus money spots that I like. One of them that both Brady and I did get, though, was the Oleksiejczuk Khamzat fight doesn't go to decision because it's plus money and because Oleksiejczuk has 100% of his losses inside the distance. So that's usually a pretty good little angle to get plus money. So if you want to take the plus money on the fight doesn't go for Oleksiejczuk and Khamzat, parlay it with Jandiroba, that'll give you a pretty good plus money parlay, but a 3rd leg, I can't endorse that. I don't have another plus money. Can you think of any other plus money spots that we like this week, Brady?
That I'd parlay, no, but plus money.
I mean, I can't think of anything other than Virna and that plus money spot for the fight doesn't go for, and my dog is telling me to bet on one of the dogs, but I'm not sure who he likes.
Maybe it's Yazong Hu, Weezy. Yazong Hu.
It could be Hu Yazong, yeah.
Could
but
be.
yeah, I would say those two. If you want to parlay it with Hu, that's fine. I wouldn't bet Hu, but yeah, a 3-leg plus money parlay is a lot to ask. It's really tough. But I gave you 2 spots. Parlay those 2.
Yeah, for sure. 302 Fight Life. Keep doing what y'all are doing, fellas. 100% appreciate that fight. Life, 2-piece like in Glover by round 4 sub. Payne saying greetings. Already bet Virna straight. There you go. So we'll give our quick picks and then we will head out of here. I will start it off. So for me, starting up top with the main event, I'm going to go with Jan Błachowicz. I'll go with Petr Yan. I'll go Islam Makhachev. I will go Alexander Volkov. I'll go Chimaev, Ankalaev, Jandiroba, Tuhugov, Duraev, Zaleski dos Santos, Oleksiejczuk, Murphy, Hu Yazong. No, yeah, we'll go Hu Yazong. Damir Ismagulov, and then Tagir Ulanbekov. Weezy, how about you?
Okay, I'm going to go with Jan Blachowicz. Or wait, yeah, I think I would bet Teixeira, but I think Blachowicz wins the fight more times than not. Jan, Makhachev, Volkov, Chimaev, Ankalaev, Jandiroba. The Tukugov Ramos fight's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
Duraev, Zaleski dos Santos. I'm picking Khamzat. I'm picking Murphy, Petrosky, Ismagulov, and Ulanbekov.
Sounds good. AJ, what are your picks for this week?
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen somebody predict a draw. So kudos to Weezy there. I hope it comes through. I'm going to go with Blachowicz, Sandhagen, Makhachev, Volkov, Chimaev, Ankalaev, Ribas, Tukugov, Duraev, dos Santos, Khamzat, Amerikani, Petrosky, Ismagulov, and Ulanbekov.
Sounds good. And then Tajik, what are your picks for this week?
So in terms of picks, I'm gonna go with Jan Blachowicz. I'm gonna go with Cory Sandhagen. I'm gonna go with Islam Makhachev. I'm gonna go with Alexander Volkov, Khamzat Chimaev, Volkan Oezdemir, Amanda Ribas, Zubaira Tukhugov, Roman Kopylov, Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. I'm gonna go with Michal Alexeychuk, Makwan Amirkhani, Hu Yaozong, Magomed Mustafayev, and Tagir Ulanbekov.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So yeah, guys, there we have it. Gonna kick it around, and yeah. So Weezy, let them know where they can find you, what you have going on. I know you have a live stream tonight, right?
Yes, sir. 10 o'clock tonight, Central Time. I'll be doing my full card breakdown for UFC 267 called Just the Tip. I'll give you a greasy 4-leg parlay at the end, and then we'll finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I've got a couple of ideas for this week. There's a lot of good candidates. You can find me right here on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday night with DFS by the Numbers doing Stat Tiggers, 5:15 Central Time. And yeah, you can find me just about anywhere on the internet talking about MMA. Look me up on Twitter at MMA Weezy. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to Pub Sports Radio for hosting us every week. Love doing this show with you guys. God bless each and every one of you.
Heck yeah. I cannot wait to see who you're picking for your ass shaving. I think there's two people that I have in mind who it could be. So yeah, I cannot wait to tune in for that. Then we have AJ as well. AJ, let them know where they can find you and what you have going on throughout the week.
Yeah, Twitter at AJ Shulo now. Yes, I am exposing myself to the community. I don't mind showing my name. Yeah, just posting content throughout the week. AJMMABetting.com. A nice healthy mix of free and paid content. So I'm not just one of these guys that offers stuff behind a paywall. Again, newsletter, free prize picks, recommendations, other stuff as well. And yeah, cheers, guys, and good luck.
Sounds good. Shout out to AJ, very sharp guy in the community. And then we have the GOAT, Tajik. Tajik, let them know where they can find you and also what you have going on throughout the week. And also you can talk about your T-shirts. I did put the link in the description below for you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Brady. Thank you very much. You can find me on Twitter, and I like to give back to the community. And so if you want to buy my T-shirt, I'm going to be releasing. You get the access to all of my picks, Draftkings wise and betting wise for free for the rest of the 2021. The link is in the description, and yeah, I'm available on Twitter if you have any questions over at Tajik Pay. So thank you.
Sounds good. Good show, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. You guys can please leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time after the weigh-ins, and then also going live 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. The prelims start at 10:30 in the morning this week, so we'll be going live at 9:30 for best bet. So check you guys out then. Best of luck, and let's make some money for this monster of a card. Good luck, guys, and see you later.